Welcome back to Let's Talk Business Phoenix, the Greater Phoenix Chambers podcast. I'm your host, Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber. Throughout each episode, we're going to explore key issues impacting our businesses, our community, and our state, highlighting opportunities for growth, addressing some challenges, and bringing leaders together to continue moving Phoenix forward. Let's jump into today's discussion. Well, welcome back to the podcast. We have a very special guest today. He's the Suns Mercury Executive Vice President and Chief Business Officer, Dan Costello. Dan, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
We're glad to have you here today, especially now that we're kind of in full swing. We always like to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. You've been with the Suns for a number of years, and maybe something about you that we wouldn't know, that wouldn't be on your bio.
Oh, for sure. Well, first, and I've been getting better. Instead of announcing myself around what I do for business, my first priority is I'm a dad and I'm a husband.
There you go.
And so I have a 18-year-old who's a high school senior, and then my son is 16. And
right there in the mix.
Yeah, right there in the mix.
Yep.
And I've been married for almost 20 years. And so, that's my priority, especially when I have kids still in the house. It's funny how quickly time flies. From a work perspective, I oversee, a lot of our revenue stream business. So I oversee our ticket sales and service business for the Suns, the Mercury, and our G League, the Valley Suns. I oversee our global partnership business. Mm-hmm. So that's all intellectual property, trademark and logo usage, complex naming rights deals, things of that nature. Our media business, which is also our broadcast television business for the Suns, the Mercury, and the Valley Suns. Our business intelligence group. And so that group's really focused on, strategies involving pricing, some of our international growth strategies, business planning, things of that nature. And then we have some ancillary businesses. We have a joint venture with the Diamondbacks in downtown Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
An outdoor signage company that I oversee. That's the day-to-day.
Well, and I mentioned longevity. I mean, you've been at the Suns, 19 years?
Yeah, I've been at the Suns for 19 years.
So you just keep accumulating new responsibilities as you go?
I've weaved in and out. I've not had some of these, and then they've come back. And so, I think our mantra is everybody kind of does what they need to do to make sure that the business moves forward. And now I find myself as one of the older people in the room that has seen things over the years. And so whatever I can do to support the business.
Absolutely. And something about you that we would find interesting that wouldn't be on your bio.
I come from a pretty diverse background from a religious perspective. Mm-hmm. So my mom is Jewish and my dad's Irish Catholic. And so there's a lot of guilt in my house. But, I was raised Jewish with a Christmas tree this time of year in my house.
We could use a little bit more of that in the world these days, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned that career arc. Professional sports, what the amount of change we've seen in that 19 years. Talk a little bit about some of the changes you've seen.
I'm not certain I get hired today. Like we're seeing, kids come from really diverse backgrounds, exceptional schools, the talent pool's as high as I've ever seen it. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing people coming in and having somewhat of a playbook for what they want to do much earlier than I can remember, 19 years ago. People are coming in with experience in podcasting. They're coming in with significant social media experience. This generation that's getting ready to work is coming in pretty fired up to get after it. And, I think, we didn't come in with the same, fervor that I'm seeing right now. And so it's been exceptional to watch and exciting to watch the level of skill that's coming into this business. I mean, as you know, we sold for $4 billion to Matt and Justin Ishbia about 3 years ago. And, quickly it was really a focus of ours to start acting like a $4 billion company. And so when you bring that in, that starts with people and talent. And so the talent level that we're seeing in sports is it's insane to see. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And talk to us a little bit about that, your journey into this career. I thinking back to, when I was in college, there was no such thing as a sports management degree. And so I'm assuming you kind of came into the industry from a different perspective.
I mean, a completely different perspective. So my mom was a social worker, and my dad worked 32 years at United Way. And so growing up as a kid, like, we spent a lot of time outside the house really focused on community engagement and community work. And so when I got a chance, I'm one of 6 kids, when I got a chance to go on vacation, like, vacations were a big deal to our family.
Sure, yeah.
And so my dad, was an important person in my life. And so when I was thinking about college, he was like, it'd be amazing, would be like, work for a hotel. Travel around the world, work for a hotel.
Not a bad way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I could lose the family station wagon and enjoy my time in a hotel. And so, I started at University of Arizona. I transferred to UNLV for their hotel and resort program and restaurant management program. And it was a great learning, everything from kind of the business side of hotels, so, P&Ls and how do you run a hotel, restaurant, and how do you look at from an operations perspective, facilities and things of that nature. So it was a great education at one of the best hotel schools in the world. And when I graduated, I went to go work at a hotel, and I learned quickly that I like staying in hotels. I cannot stand working in hotels. Okay, so
you don't want to meet your heroes sometimes, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a shot. Yeah. 9/11 happened, and I had a choice when I graduated college. I was working for Hilton. And they said you could go to Dallas or you could go to Florida. And I chose Florida. I had a sister that wasn't too far away. And 9/11 happened, and I reevaluated. I got laid off from my job. Thankfully, I didn't love it in the hotel. Yeah. And, I said to myself, do I want to stay in Florida and continue to pursue this hotel thing? I had an opportunity to be the vice president of sales, head of sales for a Holiday Inn in Gainesville, Florida. And I just, that I looked at that, and that my career and what that would mean. I decided, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to go back home. And I put it in quotation marks because my mom and dad had moved to Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
And so that brought me back to Phoenix. And I moved at home, like a lot of young people seem to be doing today. The laundry was much easier. My mom helped with that. They fed me. I brought some debt with me back home. And so it was nice to have a place to stay with them. Yep. And I decided I was going to do what my dad did. I worked for United Way. And my job was new business development for the United Way. And I had a volunteer executive that I reported to named Steve Risley. And I'm sure you know Steve.
Cox Communications.
Heavily involved in the community. And I thought he was just a cool guy, like somebody I looked up to.
Good hair, too, just like
great
us.
Hair. Yeah. Just a great leader, commanded the room. And he said, you ever think about advertising? And he introduced me to Fran Malice. I went over to Cox, and I just saw these TV sets in the lobby. I'm like, this is cool. Yeah. And I left my $32,000 a year United Way job for $15,000 in commission.
How did mom think about what did they?
Worst mistake. What are you doing? You're never going to move out of our home. And I said, I really don't have much of anything in my life anyway. And so let's give it a shot. And so, Cox kind of gave me this opportunity, had some great people there that actually looked after me and taught me the business. And I think it was like within my first 6 months, I ended up with a 6-figure commission check. I was good at selling advertising. I worked really hard. I had really good senior people above me that are still really important to me, that looked after me, taught me how to do this business. And I really fell in love with the world of advertising. And I was there for, I want to say almost 5 years. And at 28, 29 years old, I got a call from the Suns to see if I wanted to move over and sell sponsorship.
And that was the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Interesting how, especially thinking about young people today and so worried about the potential misstep in that careers aren't linear. And clearly yours wasn't, but what you learned from the hotel and restaurant side and all the operational experience that you got, I'm sure translated into some of the work you do even today.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was naive as a young person. I still was trying to figure out what life would look like. Yeah. And so there were people that came into my life that I was enamored by, that invested in me. And so this idea that like any of us make it by ourselves on our own, I don't know if I subscribe to that. There were a lot of people that just made recommendations, inspired me, helped me along the way. And it's funny how I ended up in the sports business. I wish I knew it existed earlier. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. Maybe it would have happened quicker, but it's been a blessing.
Well, I'm sure mom and dad are now pleased.
They're very pleased. Yes.
So let's pivot. You mentioned the acquisition by Matt and Justin Ishbia. What made Phoenix attractive? What stood out about this market that made them decide they wanted to come to Phoenix?
Yeah, listen, I, as someone that's been leading our revenue efforts for a lot of years, you don't often get a chance to see kind of your life's work materialize in a sale. The wonderful thing about Matt and Justin and Matt in particular in terms of his leadership style, he was really, and this has always been kind of my mantra as well, really focused on the possibility of what can we do? What's possible? Especially when you're doing things with only one reason in mind, like how do we grow our fan base? How do we do right by people? We obviously want to grow an exceptional business, but when Matt and the team looked at Phoenix, they really saw this, I wouldn't say sleeping giant, but this city that still has not reached close to its ceiling. Oftentimes when you're traveling, you're reminding people we're the 5th largest city. And, at some point that's not going to surprise people, but it's not slowing down at all. And I think the investment into this franchise is also an investment into this marketplace and what this marketplace can be. It's nowhere near this area of ceiling. And, I think for us, we're focused on not just growing our business, we want to grow this marketplace. And so when Matt bought this, it was like, how big can this get? And
was it immediately noticeable that there was going to be a pretty seismic shift?
Yeah, I remember I had been working on our media rights deal for about a year in advance of the purchase. Okay. And if you remember, we were paid to TV in a regional sports network that was here. And we had been working through this deal, and we kind of come to this point where we need to make some decisions in what this is going to look like. And I also remember walking around our office and seeing some of the younger folks that weren't watching our games. They were able to, but they weren't going to pay for it. And, that tells you everything you need to know if your own kind of team members are I can catch the highlights, I can do this. And so we started talking about how does our business grow? How big can it get if we do over-the-air television? And, the proof is in the pudding. Our ratings are exponential growth. I remember talking to Matt as he was buying the team. He's like, what do you want to do? And we were like, if our product gets in the hands of young people, fandom starts as young as age 6, and it's generational. Yeah.
It sticks.
If your mom or dad or, brother or sister loves the Suns, you have a good chance of loving the Suns too, and that'll carry on generationally as it goes. And so this idea, when Matt bought the team, he's like, let's do right by our fans and good things are going to happen. And he says that outside, but he walks the walk. Yeah. And that was one of our first big decisions. And Josh came on board, and, we ended up in litigation around that deal. Mm-hmm. And so the chemistry and the culture amongst all of us was one that we were all rowing in the same boat with the spirit around growing this business for the right reasons.
It does seem like there's a real shift in emphasis towards the fan experience. And clearly you talked about sort of younger generations, but really across the board, it's palpably different now when you go to a Suns game.
Yeah, listen, we went from a non-playoff team to the finals in 1 year. That. It's that just, I don't have the stats. We can follow up with the stats, but that never happens. Yeah. To go from a team that wasn't even in the playoffs all the way to the finals. And that coincided with a renovation that was really designed with the fans in mind. And, our renovation around premium, our renovation around upper level amenities, at the time, all those things coincide, allowed us to kind of reintroduce a product and this journey of this really fun team to watch as we went through the finals and then purchased by Matt. We're never going to go wrong. I don't care really what business you're in. If you're thinking about your customer and for us, our fans, generally you're going to be in a really good place.
Absolutely. It's funny when you think about sort of the timing of the acquisition and then sort of the Silicon Revolution that we've seen in Phoenix. But we don't tend to think about sports or basketball in this case from an economic development lens. But the the imperative is there. The economic development side of sports for Arizona has got to be significant. Do you have any data on the economic development side of that, of the sport for Phoenix?
Listen, where we go around the globe, it can sometimes be the introduction to our marketplace. And so we want to be tied into what's happening in this marketplace. One, our fans are generally going to work in one of these industries that are here. And so these industries are going to invest in the sports teams. It kind of is the one thing that brings us all together, no matter what side politically you may be on or what that looks like.
The unifier.
Yeah, it's a unifier, and I think for us also, like globally, how do we want to show up and what does that represent as well? And so, if the marketplace is really focused on investing in semiconductors, if we're focused on tourism and travel, if we're focusing on, e-commerce or fintech business, our team wants to be plugged in. Whether it's, our basketball, we have 80 plus non-basketball events, then all the Suns and Mercury business that comes through our venue. We want to reflect with offerings in our arena that support this whole community. And so it's important for us to have our thumb, right in the middle of what's happening from a business and economic development perspective, because how people spend their entertainment dollars is also a reflection of where they work and what it looks like. And we want to know what's going on in this marketplace. We win when this marketplace wins. We all do. All the sports teams do.
Couldn't agree more. When I think back to 2008 and, sort of what happened and what got us to sort of that downturn and how we came out of it, which was intentionality around really key industries like healthcare, financial services, Silicon. Does it make sense? Is it time for policy leaders and business leaders to also look at sports as a key part, a key industry in terms of the economic development mix for our region as we think about the next 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we lost a hockey team here. If you're going to be a really big city, you have to have these kind of amenities in your community. And there's a lot of want and need for these teams across the country, across the globe, for that matter. And so, from a sports team perspective, we are focused on being a fabric of this community that we, Matt says it all the time, like we're stewards of this team. And for us to continue to operate in a really big way, when our teams do well, when we're competing at the highest level, it also reflects on, how the city and how the community is doing as well. And so, I think sports teams, along with, the arts, having world-class arts and, opportunities to be able to engage in museums and things of that nature here. Like, these are things that make up world-class cities, and we have to protect it. We have to invest in it with everything we have.
Well, and you mentioned losing the hockey team. Any thoughts on how we get one back?
We want Phoenix to win. Like, we will really want us to be reflected as a world-class city with all the major sports teams. And, I think, if there's opportunity for us to engage in what that looks like, I think one thing is, if it's important in this community, we're going to be really focused on being a centerpiece to make sure that we can be a part of it. And we want this to be a very successful place for all sports teams.
Well, and certainly this is such an inviting place to have a hockey team, and I think there's a lot of fan support, and so we'd love to see that back.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the NHL, I want hockey in the fifth biggest city in the country.
Absolutely. Well, I want to pivot to the Mercury. Such an incredibly exciting team. We have the All-Stars here. A huge point of pride for Phoenix. Talk to us about the impact of the Mercury and also the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about the Suns without talking about the Mercury. And there's no faster growing part of our business than the Phoenix Mercury.
So exciting.
It's unbelievable. And I have talked about this before also. I was inspired by Vince Kozar, who leads the group, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when he walked to my office and said, we have to grow this business. And so, people ask me some of my most favorite parts of my career. It's being a part of, an historic deal with Bally Sports for the largest investment in a sports team from a sponsor. It's been a part of, patch deals that rotate every year featuring a minority-owned company on our Mercury jersey. It's a part of, our friends at Fry's deciding to put their logo on a jersey. And so, And most recently we did a 10-year deal with Mountain America Credit Union around a performance center, which is one of the largest deals in the history of the WNBA also. And so you can hear, like, I cheer for wins, but I also cheer for the business side of our team as well. And we rapidly want to grow that business because that's also the revenue that our players share in and are hopefully going to be sharing in as we work on a new collective bargaining agreement. And so we are really focused on growing that business, and it's growing at a rapid pace. There's so much pride in our organization around inviting people to those games and sharing the experience. And the basketball has never been better, just from a basketball product perspective. And so, for one, we're investing heavily on the business side of the team. And two, we're investing in facilities. So, if you haven't been to the Mercury Performance Center, the Mountain American Performance Center where the Phoenix Mercury play, it's as good, if not better, than any NBA facility, and has every amenity. And it is a huge part of how we recruit players to come join our organization. And it's set off an arms race in the WNBA.
Yeah, it is world-class. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So based on that, obviously you're a dad, thinking about kids. When the Player 15 group is thinking about youth sports, girls and boys, how does that look within the Valley? I think it's probably a little bit more of an invisible part of what you do, but.
Yeah, listen, I think part of why you're seeing valuations in basketball grow in a really big way is because basketball represents a lower barrier of entry for people to participate. You need a ball, right? And most of the city courts in any part of the country have a hoop where you can put up a wood box and shoot through that. And so the barrier entry is low. Both boys and girls can play, and you can play throughout your entire life. And so there's a lot of things that happen with that, and we're focused on all the benefits of playing the game. And so we invest heavily in our junior sons and junior Mercury programs because, kids who play the sport of basketball learn how to be a great teammate. They learn the value of an assist. They learn the value of role clarity and playing a role on a team. They learn what it's like to sit on the bench and root for your teammates, game plans, learning from a coach. All those things play a role in whatever you do later on. And we're investing heavily. We've got about 25 to 30,000 kids who play in leagues across the state. And we're all really proud of 2 years ago launching the Mercury Legacy Leagues, which are the first all-girl leagues that are launched here. And a lot of credit to Sarah Cranbuell and our community foundation work, and Vince Kozar for paving the way to make those things happen. And all the credit in the world goes to Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartelstein for making this such a big priority for us. And, we're focused on it, we're investing in it, and it's growing at a rapid pace.
Well, that investment in the community beyond the team, I think shows, and it's important.
Yeah, it's everything. It's kind of, that's where you get fandom. If little kids get a chance to play in our jerseys, they fall in love.
Absolutely. So you and I, a couple months ago, were able to travel with Governor Hobbs to Mexico City on a trade mission. Obviously, part of that had to do with sports. I know the Suns have, in the past, played exhibition games in Mexico, but also, I think, just played a game in Asia. Talk to us about that international strategy.
Yeah, so running a basketball team, an NBA team, we really get a chance to really focus on our business in a unique way that's different maybe than some of the other leagues. So that's where you talk about our, really contemplating what our TV deal looks like. We talk a lot about kind of our fan experience and what that can look like, and, how we have games, what time of the night we want our games to start. All those things become part of our purview. We're all now starting to focus on international growth. And for us, if we're not New York or LA, one of those larger TV markets, or San Francisco, the equalizer can be how you focus and grow from a global perspective. And so we started a journey, many, many times ago. We played in Mexico City 6 times. Which has been, such a treasure to be able to go. Sharing a border together, but also the fan base there is just so vast and big. It's one of the largest populations in the world. Yeah. And so the league has often really challenged us to spend time there. So we've done clinics in Hermosillo. Again, we played those games in Mexico City a half a dozen times. And we always have our eye on going back and continue to kind of grow our fan base there. 3 years ago, we also started focusing heavy in Asia. At the time, we didn't know the significance of semiconductor business and what's happening in the APAC region and how important that can be. But for us, what we did know is that there were over 750 million NBA fans in the region. I mean, that's more than the population of the U.S. just who love the NBA. And so we started really focusing in that marketplace. A lot of our data showed we had a huge a group of fans in the Asia marketplace that just love the Suns. And so we started creating a lot of digital content in that area. We quickly grew from kind of bottom quartile team in the 26, 27 range for rankings in digital and social media up to top 3 over the course of a year. And we just kept investing in the marketplace. Then comes this huge investment by TSMC in the marketplace, and you're seeing other investments that are coming this way from Asia. You're seeing 2 direct flights that we have now to the marketplace, and we're really proud to be the first games back in China in the APAC region in nearly 8 years. And so it was a blessing to play there in October.
To see some Suns jerseys out in China when we land.
I mean, we saw a lot. We saw a lot of excitement for Devin. In particular with the investment that Nike's made, but also, seeing that fan base fall in love with players like Jalen Green. You're also seeing, that fan base fall in love with Dylan Brooks and, spending time investing in that marketplace. All credit again to Matt and Josh for allowing us to make multiple trips there over the course of the last 3 years, not just treat it as a pop-up game.
Well, and you're thinking about sort of geopolitics and the fact that, going back to what you said earlier, it's the great unifier. And it's great to have something that, sure, we're going to have our differences with countries around the world, but something that can also bring us together, sort of this common idea that we can all gather around.
Absolutely. If we can find something in the middle of all of us that we love and believe in, it can be a sport.
Absolutely.
And again, the game of basketball teaches a lot. Teammates, communication, all the things that are important in life.
Well, it occurs to me, based on what you said earlier about the barrier of entry, I mean, you think of American football would be a tough thing to implement in China or South America. But when you think about basketball, it's a much different proposition for kids or people of any age to pick up a basketball and shoot hoops.
I think that's why you see global growth around basketball and European soccer, or the way you look at soccer or football in South America.
That's
and
right.
Places, right? Like, those sports, basketball and soccer, you need a ball,
Absolutely.
Right? And the barrier of entry is low. And again, both boys, girls, men, women can play, and you can play throughout your whole life. And so, I think that's a big reason why you see those sports grow and you continue to see valuations of those sports grow.
We'll look forward to more.
Yes, absolutely. It's huge.
So what are some of the big misconceptions about maybe not just the Suns, but professional basketball?
Misconceptions. Oh, man. I think that, obviously we're a league that's really driven by stars. And so, I think there's a perception that, they're just really good at basketball. Right? It's gotten more and more intense in terms of the training and the discipline and the focused effort towards, how you're going to sacrifice a role to make a really good team. And so, it's hard. I'm so close to it. Maybe I'm not as close to the misperceptions, but my sense is a lot of people think that, these players have just been at this level their whole life. That's why I kind of love the story of, you love the story of Colin Gillespie, right? Like, almost did not get a D1 offer. He had a really good high school year. He played in a game where Jay Williams of Villanova saw him, and, he got a chance to play. And, he's fighting every day, for an opportunity and to see what's happening this year out of hard work. People might either be amazed or not amazed, but, the players, especially on this team as constructed, are working really hard to get better at their craft every day. They're working really hard to play a role on a team. They're working really hard around this idea of culture and grit. And so, I think for us, it's gratifying to see people who are, at the tops of their career, still pouring into themselves to get better. That's LeBron still.
They don't just show up and shoot a ball. They have to work hard at it.
They get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
They have fame, but they get up and they work their asses off every day. Every day.
I'd like to maybe, speaking of sort of the sport, college, NILs, and how is that changing things? And what will that mean for us in the next 10 years?
It's been fascinating to watch, right? Because I've also seen a lot of my friends and colleagues who have been in pro sports leave and think about, getting in the college sports side of business or getting involved in private equity that's investing in colleges. And so the minute you start paying players, which is happening in college now, and they start setting caps and revenue sharing and things of that nature, you have to think about operationalizing yourself as a pro sports business too.
So it's more kabuki theater at this point. We just sort of pretended that really these people weren't at a certain level, and now we've sort of admitted it.
I think there's value for the work that they're doing that benefits the schools in which they play and the NCAA as a whole. And so we have made strategic decisions as a country, and the schools have to start paying amateurs to play and call them pros. So they're getting paid. We're seeing a different player that's entering the NBA now.
You do see a
who's
different
been
player.
getting paid. They take their craft at it. It's a little different. They're getting more than just their scholarship in school. They're getting paid. Yeah. But what's trailing a little bit behind it is the investment in the business side. Both in people capital, human capital, like people who know how to grow business in sport, know how to create, revenue out of media and social and digital. How do you really invest in the fan experience to grow that business, to support, what now is professional sports in college? And so it's a little behind from the business side of it. But you're seeing great play. It's some of the best college basketball you can watch right now.
It's incredible.
Really, it's incredible to watch.
Do you think we're going to see a migration from professional sports folks like you into the college ranks as they try to figure out how to manage these kinds of operations?
I don't think you're going to see. You're already seeing it.
Okay.
Like Graham Rossini at ASU, he was at the Diamondbacks for years, right? Like, he saw a lot there from people like Derek Hall and Colin Maxey. Some good friends. My friend Michael Drake left the Atlanta Hawks, and he's the chief business officer at Clemson. Like, you're seeing, talented people who have spent careers in pro sports think about college because they can disrupt. They can bring what they've done here over there, and there could be massive disruption just because on the business side of it hasn't been invested in the same way.
More to come.
More to come. Opportunity.
So speaking of more to come and opportunities, what do you see? What should we expect, given that things are changing so fast? I won't say 10 years, but maybe in the next 5 years with the Suns, maybe from a player perspective, but also from an organizational perspective.
Honestly, you're going to continue to see really talented people grow within our business. There are areas in our business that didn't exist 5 years ago that exist today. And when I talk about talented people, I talk about like people that are capturing content in unique ways, really creative people. Storytelling in unique ways is going to continue to improve. Our media and broadcast, like this year when you watch, our broadcast in Arizona Family, we're going to continue to invest in how we tell stories through statistics, how we teach people the game, different camera angles, how we talk about what happens outside the game. Our kids today, I know yours is in college, mine are approaching that year. Yep. Like what they watch and how they consume media is so different.
Isn't it?
Yeah, totally different. They may not watch an entire game, but they may watch Love Island for 45 minutes straight, right?
And maybe not on TV. But just their phone, right?
Totally. So
very different.
We have to lean into it. And, that's why I also love our sport because it's at the intersection of pop culture and music and fashion. And so I think our business is going to continue to evolve. The growth in women's sports has continued to take a bigger piece of the entertainment budget. Like we're going to continue to invest there. And I do think the way that people consume, there could be more platforms. There could be less platforms. You're seeing consolidation right now in terms of what the media landscape looks like. But the one thing I know for sure is only growing is live sports continues to command attention.
It really does.
And we're entering that time of the year right now. We just finished the Emirates Cup. For like the first portion of our season, you're going to start seeing college bowl games, NFL playoffs, and then, we're often running towards our playoffs in the NBA. And so live sports continues to win prime and continues to own the room.
Well, I mean, I don't watch any live TV except for live sports. I mean, that's where I will watch live TV.
It's a big opportunity for us to continue to invest in storytelling of our game.
So predictions for the season. I mean, what can we expect?
Listen, what we can expect is to continue to see a team we're all proud of. I think Matt, I've been doing this for a long time, but when he talked about we're going to put a team that you can be proud of, that's going to work really hard, and it's going to compete. We haven't been healthy all the way through. So I think everybody's excited to see what Jalen Green looks like in this team. We're excited to see this team does not quit. I mean, we talked the last Lakers game, we were down by 12 with
they fought
3
so
minutes.
hard.
They fought back. And, I think what we're going to see is a team compete. I think this team is surprising people, and we're going to push. We're going to push really hard to keep making Phoenix proud and to see if we can sneak into one of those playoff spots.
Absolutely. Well, I can't think of a better way to end the podcast than on that incredibly positive note, and obviously with gratitude for all the things that the Suns and the Mercury Player 15 group are doing for our community. So thank you.
Well, vice versa. Listen, I think for us, we've gotten a chance to spend time on things unrelated to basketball, which I hope, if anybody's going to get anything from this podcast is that, we're in the sports business, but we're really in the business of growing Phoenix and making Phoenix great. That's why we go to Mexico City to make sure that we can win, and Arizona wins. And, I want to thank you for, one, your allyship and leadership for making this place great. And so wherever it is, whatever we can do, I think the one commitment we can always make, we're going to show up and be shoulder to shoulder to make sure we make this place better.
Oh, we appreciate that, my friend. Before we let you go, we're going to do a quick lightning round.
All right.
All right, so let's start. First job, not professional job, because we know what those are, but what was your first job?
I worked at SeaWorld of Ohio.
Do they have a SeaWorld in Ohio?
Yeah, that's where Shamu wanted to be, right in the middle of the country with no ocean. But I worked.
What did you do?
I was a vendor.
Okay.
I was a vendor every summer, and I worked in Aurora, Ohio, about 20 minutes from where I grew up. And yes, there was a SeaWorld park there.
And what did you learn from that?
Man, what did I learn from that? I really learned about people. I mean, you work at a theme park, you see all styles of people. And I walked around carrying and selling lemonade or popcorn or those types of things. I walked around the whole park. And I also learned, I worked a lot in the SeaWorld ski village. Oh. So every day I heard a lot of Jimmy Buffett.
Did you?
So I was in a great mood every day.
Are you still a Jimmy Buffett fan after all that?
Every time I hear Jimmy Buffett, I think about my time at SeaWorld.
Nice. Okay, that's a good one. First car?
First car was my grandfather's Chrysler LeBaron.
Oh, nice.
Every 16-year-old wants a Chrysler LeBaron. Four-door.
You couldn't go wrong.
Gold, had a pipe smell in it, so it was great.
So you were doing well with that car.
Yeah, it was money. It was great.
Okay, all right. And we'll finish off with first concert.
First concert, again,
was it Jimmy Buffett then?
Just adds to the cool factor.
Okay.
My mom and dad took me to the Miami Sound Machine.
Oh, Gloria Estefan.
Okay. And that was my first concert.
Well, you were in Florida, so that works.
Yeah, it worked out. It was a good concert. For a really cool 8-9-year-old Hawaiian shirt.
You're probably feeling good.
It was cool.
So have you taken your kids to some of these? Have you taken them to Taylor? Are you a Swiftie?
So when you work in this business, I spent so many events, so many nights in basketball. So my kids go to a lot of basketball nights. I don't do a lot of concerts with them.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but I do love Taylor Swift.
Okay, so you
gotta like Swift.
Not even a closet Swiftie.
No, I went to Taylor Swift at the Cardinal Stadium, at State Farm Stadium. Honestly, I've never seen an entertainer work as hard.
Isn't it crazy?
I mean, she didn't take a break.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, I think her, and I got to see Mick Jagger. What is he, 80?
Unbelievable.
And it was 2.5 hours of him running. I mean, I was tired just watching that.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Right? Both of them. So, well, thanks again, my friend. We'll love to have you back.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Business Phoenix. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode. We're glad that you could join us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.